Welcome to another Melanincon 2026 panel. I'm here with Kachelle Pratcher, and we're going to be talking about scaling your voice, turning stories, platforms, and visibility into long-term equity. Hi, thank you for joining in.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be able to talk about this today.
I know I introduced you, but feel free to introduce yourself as well.
Yes, definitely. So you said it there, Kachelle Pratcher. I am a TV news producer, but also a media strategist, a freelance journalist, and just someone who has a very big background when it comes to media strategy, storytelling, and journalism. I've been doing this for about 10 to 12 years now. So a lot of my work is within media strategy and visibility.
Oh, that's amazing. We need people like you, especially on our side. So thank you for everything that you do.
Thank you.
You spent over a decade though producing live television shows. You launched Pratcher Media. You wrote for the Newsroom Effect, got published in the Business Insider, built digital products, and did all of that while still working full time as a senior producer. When you look at everything you have built, what is the through line that connects all of it, and how did your newsroom background shape the way you think about building a voice and brand?
I think the biggest thing is, and the through line is just editorial judgment. And so everything that you listed from producing the book, my bylines and publications, consulting, it all runs through the one filter that I say it all based on how a newsroom decides what matters. Who gets it all, how to make people care, because that's the biggest thing when it comes to newsrooms, storytelling. It's just basically editorial judgment, editorial instinct. And so me spending over a decade in control rooms and just learning about storytelling, we always have to realize that storytelling is not just for decoration. It really is a strategy that we can use to the best of our ability when it comes to our personal brands, everything. So it's the entire business framework for me, for my personal brand, for what I do within my business, and to my professional career. So when I built KPM, it wasn't more so me of trying to pivot away from news. I wanted to take the most valuable thing that news taught me, which is editorial judgment, editorial instinct, and give it to founders and brands who've never had access to this kind of thinking. Like when we think about, what people do on the news, people are always amazed about, oh, I didn't realize the producer is the person that's kind of like the brains behind what you see. Like we literally are the person down, thinking of the angle, thinking of the strategy, thinking of what is, what will be popping or whatever trending online. And so when you take that, I really want to give it to founders and brands because you can help tell your own story. You can help build this brand narrative. So the newsroom really taught me that you do not just build an audience by being everywhere. You build it by being trusted, by having that editorial instinct and making editorial decisions before you make a marketing one. Because I think right now we push a lot of marketing before we go through with the editorial decision making.
And as someone who, not a professional like you, but I tell people stories every day, and people pitch those stories to me to get posted on my various brands. Uh, the storyteller aspect is the most vital thing once you create your brand. And
Definitely.
this is why this is one of my favorite panels that we're going to be having, because I feel like I'm about to learn some things too. You describe your core belief as storytelling is a strategy for someone who has been told their whole life to just post consistently and show up online. What does it mean to shift from treating your content as output, treating it as a strategy, and why does that shift change everything?
I honestly feel like when you treat content as just an afterthought or just me just posting just to post, you're measuring the wrong thing. So you're counting posts instead of really asking what each post is supposed to do. Every single piece of content that you're creating, it should have a goal, whether that's to gain leads, whether it's to be visible someplace, whether it's to sell a product. There has to be a specific goal for every piece of content. So I think, in a newsroom, when we talk about stories and story selection and putting things on air, nothing goes on air without a reason. Like there's a reason why every segment is picked because it has a job, whether that's to inform people, persuade people, to update people. It earns its place within the show. And I like to put that to content because every single piece of content has a purpose. Every word that you're putting together for your social media post, it has to do its job. And so I think most entrepreneurs, when they're creating the content, they kind of think of it like a reporter or a junior reporter, a student reporter of something, but they throw everything in and they just hoping something it lands. They hoping to go viral. They hope that
Just throwing darts at the board.
They just want something to like stick, go viral, get those views, but that's the wrong way to really look at it. Like, yeah, it'd be great if you can have a viral post. You could get those eyeballs on it, but strategy means you're sitting here deciding up front what this story will do for my business, who is it for, and what you want them to believe by the end. And I think that's why we have to sit down and really have a storytelling strategy and think about storytelling being a strategy for us, because once you make that shift, it's like everything becomes that specific moment. Like you start teaching or you start treating your content like a news producer would. And I always like to say, think like a newsroom, like my book, because you start to think like a news producer. You stop chasing trends and you start building like a really strong body of work and strong content that people will continue to follow.
Oh, that's amazing. See, I'm already learning stuff. Treat your content like a newsroom. Think as the news producer, not just as somebody that's just throwing darts at a board.
Yeah.
Bars. What is the difference between visibility that fades and visibility that builds long-term equity? And why do so many entrepreneurs end up with a lot of followers and nothing to show for it?
You have like all the great questions. I have to
because it's
like,
intentional. It's meant to give tangible things for people to learn from.
No, definitely. I feel like visibility that phase is reactive, right? It's built on the algorithms, like I just said. Like we're chasing the algorithm, and the algorithm changed so much. We went from loving Instagram to now not really caring for it because the algorithm has tweaked. We went from loving TikTok, but then the US got involved and everything just kind of slows down. So when your visibility is reactive, it's built on the algorithm, the trends, and other people's platforms. And you never want that, because visibility in my eyes, I feel that it builds editorially. And so it's because you're compounding over each piece of content that you're creating, and it's reinforcing your clear position in the market. So I think the reason why so many entrepreneurs end up with so many followers and nothing to show for it is because they confused attention with authority. And so I just feel like attention is rented. Like we talk about going viral all the time, want to be visible, right? That's for a short shelf life. Like somebody's going to remember that viral video. It's going to be there for that little time, but it's kind of like you're renting that time essentially. Like, oh, I'm hot right now, and then I got to be thinking about what comes next. Whereas authority is owned. So a newsroom does not just choose to be viral, because that we can't go after that. We have to continue to build a beat, build stories, segments, go after things that come up. And so when people build a beat, like how I used to like to say, your newsroom or your editorial filter or your lane, it's when you're able to react or jump on a trend before everybody else sees it coming. So like, for example, if there's something that's in the news that's happening and people are talking about it, but a lot of people are confused, and you're seeing social media asking different questions, you come in as the authority because you're owning that you are this thought leader in this space. You jump on and put your spin on it. That's going to do so much more for you than a quick little video of you reacting and just trying to go viral. So I think that's what equity actually looks like, is when you're taking, your platforms and you're building that authority and that thought leadership versus trying to just be visible just to say I was viral and I have all these views on my page.
And to be viral and still be broke is not a situation people would want to be in.
Like no one wants to be in there. Like it's cool, but no.
And then I feel like we probably both follow people like this. I feel like once they get that first viral video, their content is watered down because they constantly chasing that viral moment, the reaction to get people, like to make people mad or to make people react. Because as people know, our people are a reactive group, and I personally call that type of attention reactive clout. The best example for that for me would be Kevin Samuels. Kevin Samuels was posting and posting and posting. He was posting up telling men they need to do this, they need to do that. And he had views, but it wasn't until he started dissing Black women and everybody started to leave comments, had their own personal reaction videos, that his whole platform changed. And let's say you was a guy that was actually learning from him, telling the different things about how to be a better man. Now you don't get none of that content because now he's constantly talking down on Black women so that he can stay in the algorithms. You lose. Yeah, you viral, but you lose.
And I feel like it's just so important, like with that piece, is like you can do what works, but at the same time, like, is that what you want to stay positioned to? Is that all you want to be noticed for? Is that the only thing that people come to your page knowing they just want to argue with somebody in the car? Like, no, you want to be multifaceted, have different types of content, meeting different people in different ways, versus just
Yes.
always sticking to that one specific thing.
Right. Like the baby running around in a pamper. Yeah, they got him viral, but what
Yeah,
happens when he didn't want to be in a pamper no more?
exactly. That's all people want to be like.
So I empathize with that. The newsroom taught you how to be consistent under pressure. Basically, what we just was talking about, how to spot angles and how to build structure. How does that discipline translate into building a voice that actually compounds over time rather than one that peaks and plateaus?
I think the biggest thing is newsrooms runs on deadlines. And it's not negotiable. Like it's not negotiable. You have to have this story at this specific time, or that's basically, your job if you don't have it, because it has to happen. News come on at 6 p.m. every single day. You can't miss slot. Like you have to have that there. And I think when you learn to produce your content or anything that you're doing with your brand, you put the quality under pressure because there's no option, right? So I think the discipline translates into brand building in one specific way. So you stop wanting to just feel ready. You stop waiting for the perfect post. You build a system. And because like I say in news, like we want everything to be specifically perfect. Like within breaking news, you want to make sure you're getting all the factual information correct, like because that's what you're supposed to do. That's your job. But at the same time, if we waited until we had every single piece of important detail and we never say anything to the public, you'll be saying, wait, why are you holding this for me? Or you late. Everybody else been talking about this and you just now waiting because you want it to be perfect. And I like to use the breaking news scenario because you can't. Breaking news can be a little bit messy because sometimes we report things and it just turns out to be something completely different. But in that moment, at that time, we wanted to go ahead and put it out there because we wanted to inform. And that applies directly to your content too. Like we can't sit here and just be like, oh, everything has to be specifically perfect. I have to have this really great backdrop for my videos. I got to make sure I got the best camera. It does not have to do all of that. And I think the newsroom discipline has helped me to learn and help brands with that as well by telling them like, hey, let's start where you are. Let's go and put this here versus you're just trying to stick to one thing. So I feel like in a newsroom, we call it a rundown. That's a producer's terminology, is a rundown. And so in your business, you have that editorial calendar. And so your editorial calendar is where you build with intention behind it. So a voice that compounds is a voice that shows up in the same way week after week after week with a clear point of view. And it goes back to what I was saying a little bit earlier about you being the authority and the thought leader behind your specific industry, your specific brand, everything that you're talking about. And so that's a voice that, it's not going to disappear every time life gets hard or peaks or everything that some goes viral. Some days you're going to have viral videos, some days you're not. But because you built the editorial calendar with intention, the people follow you because of all this amazing thing that you're doing. It just repeats over time.
So this is on topic, but not one of the questions.
Yeah.
So don't you feel that's a direct contradictory to
Mm.
all the brand workshops that people sell people to build specific content, the specific content calendar, the specific content bite drops, and all this and that to make the perfect 15-second video versus just the
And honestly, like I say, I think everyone is different when it comes to what works for them. And so for me, I think with me having this newsroom background, and it's kind of like, no, throw all that out and try it this way. Because like, yeah, if you waited until you have all this perfect stuff, you missed the moment. You could have had an actual moment to react to something, do a really great video, but because you said I didn't have this perfect camera shot, I didn't have this perfect, backdrop behind me or this perfect mic. Everyone didn't start out. I feel like we also judge people off of where they're at day 50 when you're at day number 1 or 2. It's just like crazy. Like people are so much far along in different processes of what they're doing in their journey, and we're trying to compare it. So when I think about brands and when brands come to me, I'm just like, hey, let's take a backseat and see what you have now. Let's put your best foot forward now, and then we gradually build. You'll get to that amazing backdrop, that amazing piece of content, that content calendar that have like 5 different pillars. But right now, I feel like you have to be realistic with yourself too. You create more pressure on yourself than you have to.
and then you end up never putting out that post.
Nothing at all. Not at all.
Because
So no one
everything
never
has to
saw
be
it.
perfect. I was telling my publicist yesterday. Obviously, I have a lot of followers on a lot of different platforms, so I'll be like, just post it, post. If it's on your mind to post it, because let's say I post a video right now. Let's say just on TikTok, I post a video on TikTok right now, and I get 10 views, have 10 views for 7 days, and then out of nowhere, 50,000 views. Because the algorithm is so everywhere.
Yeah.
All it takes is one person to repost it. Now it's going crazy. But nobody would have never seen that post if I would have just wanted the perfect scenario to post it. It's just all about getting that information out, like you said, for breaking news, and the rest will fall in place. You should chase quality, and mind you, I'm not a professional, but I think that people should chase the quality versus the views, and they will have a lot of better results than the perfect post, because there's no such thing as the perfect post.
There's no such thing as perfect. I just really hate when people try to really drill down like it has to be perfect. No, like we got to throw that away. Like there's okay for you to want it to look a certain way and to make sure it's on brand for you. But again, like I think being perfect is also subjective as well, because what you may think is perfect is completely different from what I may think is perfect. So I think it's always great to have a just open mind, specifically when it comes to content and social media and everything.
So in terms of the business, Black entrepreneurs, a lot of Black entrepreneurs have powerful stories to tell, but have been conditioned to minimize them or package them only for relatability rather than authority. How do you help someone understand that their story is a business asset that they can later on leverage for equity?
I feel like, when it comes to your story, and I always like to say this, like everyone has a specific why. Like your why is going to be completely different from my why and what inspired me and my inspiration. And I feel like as Black entrepreneurs, we have to know that our story can help someone somewhere. You never know who will see your story and they identify with it. And I just feel like your story is also your intellectual property. Like it's just one thing that competitors can't replicate. They can't take it and steal it or anything, because that's your specific why, your specific story. And I just feel like when you lean into that, people are so excited to see the authenticity and authentic you. And so I think that's why we have to lean on storytelling, and you being able to sit down and pop up a camera and you just talk to the people. Like I love seeing content where it's just like, hey, pick up the phone. Cause like people love that. People love seeing someone that's authentic. People love hearing about the personal story behind everything. So when I help a brand or an entrepreneur reframe their story, I always look at it as a valuable asset for you, because I want to ask those 3 questions to them, which is 1, what does your story prove? Like who needs the proof, and what decision do you want them to make after they hear it? Because it could be one person going to it saying, I want my story to help the next young lady that could be just like me because I become successful and I come from this specific neighborhood. And I want this young lady to hear that they can be successful just like me. And so it's just, you have to sit down and really think about, your why, who can really take away from the story, and just putting it out there, because you never know who you can help. And I always think it's a way that people can't steal your story. People cannot take from it or try to pick apart. You can look at all type of content. We can all create the same type of content in some type of way, but it always be different. But your story, I just feel like no one can steal that from you. And it's just so important to be able to have that as something to be different from the next competitor or the next person. So I just feel like the minute you sit down and really ask those questions, you stop telling your story for, just using it to use it, but using it as being your authentic self, showing up as you, having another marker when we talk about authority and editorial instinct and judgment for people to want to reach out to you and get more opportunities. Because I just feel like sometimes if you only lead with the business, what your business doing, how successful you are in your business, that's fine and great. We want to hear all of that, but it's also boring at the same time. What makes you get up every single morning at 5 a.m. to go and check, the orders that you're getting? Or what makes me want to, if I'm someone with a podcast, want to sit down and have you on my podcast to tell how you got to here? So I just think like you got to lean into your story, because that's what separates you from the next person.
Man, you are on top of these answers. I feel like I don't know if you studied
No,
or
no, I just get really, I'm just so passionate
these
about
answers. I'm
storytelling.
learning so much.
No, I'm just so passionate about storytelling and just think about it differently because like people will say, "Oh, you're a journalist. You have to tell the news." And it's just like, no, it can apply to so much other things. And I'm just so happy that I'm able to share what I've learned in the journalism school and how it can apply to everyone, everyday business, and just being your authentic self and telling your story.
And you offer also one-on-one story clarity sessions. In doing so, what is the most common clarity problem you see when someone sits down with you, and what does it tell you about how most people are approaching their visibility strategy?
And I really hate to say this, but the most common thing that people come to me with, and when it comes on clarity, is they really want to drill down on being more so seen as an influencer or content creator.
Mhm.
Everyone's clarity now has shifted to that. And there's nothing wrong with that at all, because if that's a goal of yours, that's a goal. But when it comes to being clear about you, your business, your brand, that's why I go back to those questions. Okay, what are we doing with this? If we're going to create this content, what is it serving? Like, what audience are we serving? Why are we doing this? Because every single piece of content we're creating, everything you're putting out there when it comes to you and your brand and visibility, it has to serve a purpose. So anything that I'm going to post online has to specifically tie back to me, KPM, the book, something of that sort. And I think when I do my clarity sessions is a lot of people come to me and they're just like, I want to be seen everywhere and I want to have this outlook everywhere and be posting everywhere. And I'm just like, wait, hold on. We can't be everywhere all at one time. Let's build this authentic type of storytelling strategy where we show you off as this specific person. And then we build onto it. And I just think a lot of people come to me and they're just like, I see you have these bylines and this. I want the same thing too. And I want the features. And I'm just like, we got to start from somewhere first and then work our way to it. Because you'll get there. It's just all about a build. And so my clarity sessions really allow me to sit down, dig deep into the story, find a specific angle for a specific client, and then we hit the ground running from there. So like I really do a lot, and that goes back to my journalism roots, is I sit there and I do a very big diagnostic interview. I want to know every single thing that you think is so important about you, your brand, your why, what you do, and from there we create that story and we go from there as far as your visibility.
So, in terms of the equity part of it, would you say, because visibility only goes so far as well as views, and like you said, you could have a lot of views and still be broke. You also built digital assets. Would you consider the digital assets being an important part of strategy when it comes to building the wealth? When it comes to storytelling?
I think so. I think, again, going back to what I was saying earlier about no one can replicate what your story and who you are. So when it comes to those digital assets and creating a product or something that's specifically geared towards you and what you have going on, no one can fake that, try to replicate it, or have Chat GPT create it. And so, because we see it, that's a lot. Everyone is creating a digital product. I'm not knocking it at all, but is your digital product, does it really connect to you? Like it would be really crazy because I'm here as a news producer and a storytelling person, a media strategy, and I create a digital product that's talking about AI. That has nothing to do with my background. So I really think when you create the visibility and we go ahead and say, okay, this is the lane that we're going to go for your visible footprint. And then you sit down and say, well, I really want to create maybe a journal that talks about X, Y, and Z, or maybe this because this is in my background. I think that truly helps and they work hand in hand. Okay. So when it comes to digital assets and so building with clarity and storytelling strategy, I always like to say that they work hand in hand. So yes, you want to be visible. And like you were saying earlier, that visibility only goes so far. But at the same time, I also will say that, once you have your storytelling strategy, you clear on what it is that you're doing, who you're serving, you also can create digital assets for yourself. So like for me personally, I use myself as an example. I would never want to create a digital product that talks about like AI or something because you don't know that for me. Like me specifically as a journalist, as a news producer, something when it comes to storytelling and news editorial judgment. You will see that from me and be like, okay, I will take a look at this digital product from her or digital asset from her because she knows what she's talking about. She's done that. Whereas I think that's how you build it and that's how it pays off in the long run. So if I get the visibility play when it comes to me being on podcasts, me speaking at certain conferences, me being here with you talking now, when I'm using that, people will then be like, okay, she knows this, she knows what's going on. I will take a chance at her digital assets, her digital products, whatever she's putting out or she's selling. I kind of want to look into it because I've seen that she's a thought leader in that space and have that authority. So I think that it all works hand in hand. Like once you build that specific type of lane for yourself, that way you're able to create those digital assets.
And I'm not suggesting people do this, but I feel like I'm on the right path listening to what you say. I was watching a YouTube video about storytelling and building your brand, and people always wanted to go for the big buck. And he was like, just give something away for free. And it's like the vendor that paid the $250 is expecting to pay $250 to actually make that $250 back. And that's not how vending works. You're there to get exposed to people you wouldn't already be exposed to and build a long-term contact that you can later sell to later. I look at it as everything you said. Like you got to be able to show that you're about what you're talking about. And that may or may not cost. You want me to pay $1,000 discovery call for what?
Like, exactly. Right. Like, why would I even do that?
Like, you want me to spend $10,000 to bring you to my conference to speak? Why?
Exactly.
And I feel like that's in terms of the branding and everything that we talking about tonight. I feel that separates the fluff from the actual meat.
Yeah, definitely.
And a lot of people get a lot of fluff and no nutrients, and that's why another reason why I started this series, and hopefully to keep it going throughout the year. A lot of entrepreneurs are building their entire visibility strategy though on platforms they do not own. How do you help people build platform presence while also building the infrastructure they actually control?
Honestly, I just feel like build on the borrowed platforms to find your people. I think the biggest thing is when we're thinking about starting out and trying to create that content, trying to create that audience, you need to be on the borrowed platform because you never know who can see your content and they identify with it. Build on your own platforms to keep them. And so I think is when you're on Instagram, you never know who could see you, or on TikTok. And so in some type of way, when we think about the strategy here is you get them there, and when on that page, on that bar platform, there needs to be some type of opt-in that you can get their email or something for you could contact them. So if something happened, you will be able to contact them. So it has to convert in some type of way. So when we talk about, let me see. Oh, is my camera doing something weird? There we go. Okay. So the mistake is I feel like people treat Instagram or TikTok as the destination, right? They constantly think about the strategy there, and their big goal is post here. I feel like that's the discovery layer. Like that's just for people learning who you are, what you do. I want to follow. It's a quick deal or not, or I'm gonna save your post. The destination is your email list, your website, and your products. And I feel like once they land onto your page, it has to be something that they can go find more information out about you that you specifically own. And I think email is still one of the best and most valuable thing. I know a lot of people are just like, oh, I hate giving my email out and getting all the emails and everything. But that's one thing that you specifically own that is yours that no one could take from you if you were to grab emails from people off your website. So I just feel like every piece of borrowed content should be designed to move someone one step closer to something you actually owned. If you were to wake up tomorrow and all the algorithms change and nobody's seeing your content, you should still have a business still because you've been building and you've been putting together some type of platform to get people to you. Hearing from you. Like in my early days, I used to have like a Substack, a blog, an email list, and I will always have people comment on the news article or story on that social media, but some kind of way, even if I post it there, I post it again in the email list. Like, hey, so you can always get this here. So that way it's kind of like I want to make sure that I'm nurturing this. You've seen it here, but you're going to see double here. And I'm going to give you some extra access that you wouldn't have got on social media because it's here. So I just feel like, you have to really be using the discovery layer and discovery platforms as something to push them to do something else. And I just feel like, this is when you turn your hobby and what you love into what actually pays you to.
And for those who listening on the playback, what she just described in grave details is your funnel. Your funnel is something that you want to build because your funnel makes it so you have your contacts no matter what happens. I myself, I have probably like 3-4 different brand pages with 30,000-40,000 people per thing. My main page has 160,000 people. My email list alone is 50,000 people from all my events I've been hosting since 2017. So it's always a blast. My events sell out in the email list before it even make it to Instagram. So your sales funnel and also grabbing contact phone numbers. My phone number list is about 25,000 because even with email, you could go to a spam and they never see it, but the phone hasn't caught up to phone numbers yet. So no matter who you are, what you're using, if you have somebody's phone number and you using your marketing with phone marketing, it's going to go straight to their phone, straight to their hand. Just don't abuse it. I may do a text blast once every like 4-5 months. So don't abuse it like you would do an email, and don't abuse the email either.
That's like so important.
You describe resilience as not about bouncing back, but about building forward. How does that philosophy show up in the way you teach people to approach setbacks in their visibility journey?
I feel like I feel like, bouncing back assumes you kind of like trying to get back to where you were or get forward. And so I just feel like building forward assumes you were never supposed to stay there, right? I think I always like to use the terminology learn and grow. I'm learning and growing every day, every client, every encounter I have, every publication I write for, I'm learning and growing for something to build to something better, to something bigger, to the next thing. And I think so. And I think I use this or think about this when it comes to client, because in news, every show ends and a new one starts in 24 hours. So it's kind of like, you don't get to dwell on what happened on Monday because the next show is happening on Tuesday. It's like you don't have time to soak in there. You don't have time to be upset. You got to keep going because the next thing is happening next day. So that mindset has taught me, that setbacks are information. They're not ending. Like you can learn something from that setback and apply it next to be better for the next thing, but it doesn't last forever. And so what I teach people this, I just tell them that every closed door, rejected pitch, or a client launch is data. It's helping build to that bigger story. And we talked about storytelling earlier and you sharing that personal goal. You never know who you can help when you tell them about, I started and I launched to one person. And as I built that email list, it only had 5 people for a whole year. But now a whole year or two later, I got thousands. And so, all of that is data for you. And I think the question is not why did something or why did this happen to me? The question is, what does this tell me about what to build next, where I'm going next, how this would propel my story forward, and how it make me stronger on the opposite end of it.
Oh, that's amazing. This is going to be the rapid round towards the back end of the conversation. It's one of my favorite parts because that's where people get the real nitty gritty. When it comes to being a Black entrepreneur telling your story, what's the biggest mistake personal brand builders make that keeps them from creating content without building anything, just posting for nothing?
I say creating content without a position, like value without a point of view is just noise. There's so much content out there. You create content instantly with ChatGPT, Claude, Perplexity, all type of stuff. And you just to do it. Everyone can do it. Everybody has it at disposal. So I just feel like when you're creating content without a position, without a point of view, you get lost in the sauce with everybody else because everybody create content. What makes you different from the next thousands of people that's creating the content too? Especially when everybody's teaching you and telling you to go here to create 100 posts within 5 minutes.
Hey, my man Country Wayne say he posts 40 posts a day. So it gets like that.
Yeah.
What's one thing every Black entrepreneur must do before they can turn their visibility into equity?
I say decide what you want to be known for, and it needs to be quick within one sentence. If you cannot say it, you cannot sell it to anybody. And that's what they always talk about, your elevator pitch. It got to be quick to the point. What do you want to be known for, and how can you keep going and just, I know exactly what it is that you're selling as soon as you open your mouth and tell me what you do. So knowing what you want to stand for in that quick one sentence.
And last one would be, what's the best advice you have received about building a voice that lasts?
I feel like being useful before you are interesting. So
Oh,
usefulness is what people come back for every time. When I'm a TV news producer, I book segments day out on my news channel. If you're useful to me and you have a point of view that I know that I can use and you always ready, I'm gonna always call on you. So I think the biggest thing is be useful before you're just interesting. It's one thing to want to stand out, but is that useful content? Is that useful to what I'm trying to put out or what the goal is? Usefulness is what people will always continue to come back to and want to seek out.
uh, be a tool of progress is what she said. for
Definitely.
the for the person in the audience and people who gonna play this back, who have been showing up and creating content but quietly wonder whether if any of it actually added up to something, what would you say directly to them about what equity building and storytelling with a purpose actually looks like?
I would just say if you've been showing up and you're creating and just wondering whether if it's working, I really want you to hear this clearly and just take this away that the fact that you're showing up is work. Every single post that you make, you being able to put your foot forward and say, I'm going to create this today, no matter who likes it, who watches it. If it doesn't get a view, it's the fact that you showed up every day and that matters for something, that counts for something. So I think equity is built in the seasons where it feels like nothing is happening. Every newsroom I've ever worked in, it had quiet weeks before a big story broke, or, not now because of the climate we're in, but there have been times where before a story breaks, it's quiet, and the people, who were ready when it broke were the ones who kept producing, the ones who kept working on their craft, the ones that's able to jump in and keep it going. And so I think when I talk about storytelling strategy, creating content, your visibility, I always like to use the terminology of think like a news producer, keep producing. Because even though if there's nothing going on, the world is boring, there's all type of stuff happening, I have to still keep producing. I have to still sharpen my point of view and just trust that consistency is compounding, even when you cannot see it yourself. Like everything that you're working towards is actually going to build to something even better. So I think the audience you build right now is the one that will be there when your moment arrives. So when you have that viral moment, everybody's going to be rallying around that because you've been building towards it day by day, even when it felt like nothing was coming out of the content you were creating or the business that you were building.
Oh man, that was good. I'm inspired. I'm about to go drop a video right now.
I hope
what
I.
does what does Melanincon mean to you as someone who have dedicated her career to helping people build clarity, authority, and visibility, and now gets to bring that expertise to our audience, ready to scale their voice?
Thank you. I just want to say thank you so much for creating the opportunity, allowing me to be here and to speak about this and creating this platform because we need more of this. And I feel like Melanincon is what happens when our community stops waiting for permission and starts building the rooms that we want to see for our people. It's what we've been deserving, what we deserve to be, and where we deserve to be celebrated. And I just appreciate you and the platforms that build that opportunity for us. For me, I feel like it gets to bring everything that I've learned to newsrooms and classrooms and in my own business to a room full of Black entrepreneurs who are ready to scale. That entire point of my work is like my professional work is allowing me to show it in a different way. And like I said, I feel like some people will write me off like, you're a journalist, you're a TV news producer. You don't know what you're talking about when it comes to storytelling. And it's just like, why would you say that? Because, in by law or by a textbook, it is completely different, but it also has some of, things when it comes to business and media. So I feel like this right here is like a homecoming. It's like me being able to come and share what I find has been really successful for entrepreneurs and business owners. And you allowing me to be that authority here, to me to share my point of view with my audience. So really grateful for Melanincon and what you're doing and how you're showing up for Black entrepreneurs everywhere.
Thank you for showing up with us tonight, working through the minor glitch. I, for one, And super grateful for your answers because they was all intentional. And I feel like anybody that's going to be listening to this or have listened to this would get great value out of building their own brand and voice. And for the people in the back, tell them where they can follow you and support you.
Yes, definitely. So again, I'm Kachelle Pratcher. I'm Kachelle Pratcher on all social media. More about my business is at kpratchermedia.com. So super excited. Really happy to be in front of the Melanincon audience. And thank you all so much.
Thank you. You all have a nice night and thank you for your time.
Thank you.